Please rise for the invocation by Reverend Jim Stewart, Pastor, Java Journey, Coffee House Ministry.
Anybody pray with me? Our Creator, we first of all pray on behalf of the boys missing from Babies High School and seek your intervention in their return soon. Pray for strength and comfort of the families as they await word. We are thankful to be able to live healthy and productive lives ourselves. We are humbled by the gift of life, which we are not able to will on ourselves, but are dependent on you and others for. And so with that, help us to keep in mind that the most productive and beneficial things that can be done in this life and for humanity are done with consideration and cooperation with others. Amen.
And the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now we have a presentation of the Beautification Awards by the Chairman of Community Affairs Commission, Mr. Leroy Harris.
Thank you, Mayor Wright. Mayor Wright, City Council, Mr. Crum, fellow citizens, it brings me great privilege and honor to be here tonight to present our annual 2012 Beautification Awards, which is presented annually by the City of Hickory and the Community Appearance Commission that I represent. And we take just a couple brief words about this. We give these awards on an annual basis, and these are nominations by fellow citizens of the city, and we try to get the word out. And I'd just like to recognize just a few people for all their help and effort in getting this done. Cal Ogilvie is the city liaison for the Community Appearance Commission from the planning department. Without his leadership, we cannot do what we do, and we appreciate everything he does. From the publicity side, Mandy Pitts, Communication Director, and Dana Kaminsky, Communications Specialist, they have done an excellent effort in getting the word out through city snippets. Dana has been on Get Hip with Hickory on the HKY and done a segment on there to let everybody know what's going on. Also, Beth Wicker, who is our subcommittee chairman or subcommittee member on our panel, she's sitting over here. Beth, you'd like to say? She does put a lot of effort into this and has worked real close with Dana. She was on Get Hip one morning with Dana, and they did the 15 minutes of how, and also did a television segment. And like all the local media, the newspapers picked up on it too. So we feel like we did a pretty good job this year getting the word out. And we, as a commission, in our last meeting, come up with the winners. So at this time, I'd like to go ahead and start the slide. The first winner we have to recognize is the residential renovation, and that goes to Colette Dow. Her residence is 318 3rd Street Southeast, and as you can see a before and after picture, and obviously she put a lot of work and effort in it. So is anyone here to represent this guy? Okay. All right, come forward.
Hi, I'm Colette Dow. I've owned this property for about 12 years. In the past 2 years, I've really put a lot of effort and work into it. I've not had a lot of resources, but I had the willingness and I made the effort. But I really want to thank the City of Hickory Police Department for all their help. Officer Lohr and Officer Vanover and Chief Atkins and a lot of the officers, and Carl Brown at that time was working in code enforcement. They really were supportive of me and helped me out and protected me in the neighborhood. And there's a lot of people that were my friends and helped, like mow the lawn and get up on the roof line to help paint. And for that, I'm really appreciative. And I thank you very much for this award.
If I might just add one word, if we would, after I announce all the winners and everyone gets their awards, we will adjourn and for the winners, and we'll go out in the lobby and have some pictures made. So just if you would just wait around until we get through with the awards. The next category is the non-residential landscape, and this goes to the Village Corner, 121 northbound, 127 south, which is just about a block south of the Central Fire Station on 127. And they have taken that corner and done quite a bit of good work there, and keep looking attractive, especially on the main thoroughfare. So, Village Corner. We'll see if they get their certificate. All right, the next category is non-residential renovation. That goes to Gavin Mitchell for this property at 15 2nd Avenue Northwest. That's coming down the hill from Bank of America toward the Medical Arts Center. It's on the right. Gavin has taken that property in the last year or two and turned it into what you see right there. In fact, he applied for an appearance grant through the commission and was awarded some of our money for that. He's put a lot of effort in it. So Gavin's here, so we would like to give him this.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Gavin's also working he's also got another piece of property in the works right now that he's restored. So we appreciate him for all of his efforts. Next category is a special award. That goes to Hickory High School for their landscaping project on the outside. As you can see, it enhances the beauty around the high school campus, and we'd like to recognize them for a special award from Hickory High School.
Thank you very much. I'm just the nominator for Hickory High School. This is Larry Henline. He and the volunteers of the PTA at Hickory High do all this. When I first came to Hickory High in '94, it was very barren. If you look and pass on the street, it's beautiful, and it's the volunteers that keep it up. They trim it, they water it, they do all kinds of stuff. So the honor goes to Mr. Larry Henline and his group of people.
I want to say that I didn't do one single thing. All of those like the emails, I have a group of 13 volunteers that did all the work and they deserve credit. Thanks very much.
All right, we've got a couple special recognition awards. The first one is Girl Scout Troop 10672 for the Zara Baker Playground. And as everyone knows, the city has put a lot of effort into this project, the city and private and individuals and everybody in the whole area. So the work that the Girl Scout Troop has done is just part of that effort. And we'd like to recognize those ladies right now. So. John Steve.
Thank you.
Congratulations. The next award is another special recognition for Morning Star Baptist Church Youth Mission. They've done a lot of work around their church grounds located at 124 4th Avenue Southwest. And it certainly, I'm sure, makes their congregation proud of the work that they've done out there. So I'd like to recognize those folks. You're welcome.
She's going to make it.
Okay.
On behalf of Morning Star Youth Missions, I would like to thank the City of Hickory for their continuous support in our beautification project and also in our other projects that we do, making the community a better place.
And our last award is the Adelaide Shupert Award for Adopt a Spot. And there are probably right now about a dozen or so Adopt a Spot located throughout the city of Hickory. And this is a program that any individual or business for that matter can apply to beautify a corner or anything, up and down the street just to enhance the neighborhood. And this year's award goes to Paul Holig, and we'd like to recognize him at this time for that. Let's see.
Thank you very much. And, I just enjoy doing this, and I just hope everybody enjoys riding by and looking at my fire.
Give you a certificate too. Paul has done a great job with that, and to say he just recently at our last meeting he got approved for another adopted spot. So he enjoys that, and we thank him, and we appreciate all the winners and the efforts that everyone puts into it. And on behalf of the Community Commission and the City of Hickory, thank you very much.
Well, I was going to recognize the Girl Scouts and the Morning Star Baptist Youth, but they've been recognized. Thank you all very much for what you've done. It's fantastic.
I guess the first time we've ever had 2 youth group winners.
And they want pictures.
The newspapers want to see them.
Yeah. Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes.
I move approval.
Second.
I have a correction. If you look on page 19 of your agenda file, you'll see that there was recognitions of persons requested to be heard, and it goes on to recap that. And then on page 20, you'll see that then we entered into a discussion about a motion I made regarding some process issues. I think those are flip-flopped. I think we had the discussion on my motion before we heard from the citizens.
Okay.
So I moved that correction.
And you confirmed that in court, I'm sure.
Well, I have not listened to tape. Is that correct?
Okay, good. Well, I'll second that motion. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It's unanimous and all members are present. That motion was made by Mr. Lael, second by Mr. Wright. Motion to reaffirm and ratify on second readings.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Patton, second by Mrs. Fox. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That's unanimous. Anything to be removed from the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to remove item E, please.
Item E is going to be removed from the consent agenda.
I move approval other than item E.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Guest, second by Mr. Seaver. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. It's unanimous. Sure.
Yep, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask the city's planning director to come to the podium. Mr. Fraser does that. What you removed to discuss is a Community Appearance Commission request for approval of an appearance grant for non-residential property, which is owned by Mr. Joe Jackson, for the Joe Jackson Mitchell Estate, which is located on 808 Old Mill Road Northwest, and the grant request is for $5,000, and I'll ask Mr. Fraser to elaborate a little bit on that.
Thank you, Mr. Berry. Mayor Wright, members of council, Mr. Berry, Mr. Crone, good evening, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have after just giving a brief explanation. Mr. Berry is correct, and as you well know, these grants are designed as a reimbursement grant in which the city of Hickory will match the applicant on a 50-50 basis. The maximum grant amount from the city of Hickory is $5,000. The proposal involves the replacement of the doors and windows of the vacant building that you have a picture of in your packet, and it's located again at 808 Baltimore Road Northwest, Mr. Barrett indicated. The applicant has provided the two bids and the items listed in the green sheet, which is in the amount of $11,080.47 and $14,425 even. Since both quotes received $10,000, the proposal would appear to qualify for the full $5,000 grant. And I apologize for the typo. The current tax rate of the property, land, and building is $26,800, so the value would be a 20% property tax value and not a 2% as indicated. Again, my apologies. Upon consideration, the CAC, the Community Appearance Commission, unanimously did vote to recommend the funding of the requested grant for the maximum funding amount of $5,000, and that vote was taken at the Community Appearance Commission's regular meeting back on September 24th, 2012, and they did believe that the project would meet all eligibility and application guideline requirements. And I'd be happy to address any questions that you may have. The main reason was for the error in the percentage. The other thing was it seemed like that it may be better qualified for a vacant building grant than for a community appearance grant. That was one of the, I just wanted to hear if there was any other discussion about that and make sure that we corrected the percentage. Yeah, I think the percentage is duly corrected, and one thing that I just want to say, when this program was founded by council, I think back in 1999, if I'm not mistaken, it was created basically as an appearance grant, as an aesthetic improvement to the appearance of the community. There was no economic development incentives attached to it, nor was it created that way. Staff would certainly be open to discuss that with council and the city manager's office if we wish to tweak the program in any way. I'm not sure that the property would qualify for a vacant building grant, because I don't believe it meets the minimum criteria in terms of the building size and square footage. So again, this is a recommendation by the community appearance grant, and it's totally up to council whether to fund the project at the recommended $5,000 amount, not fund it at all, or fund it for a lesser amount. That's entirely up to city council.
I do want to point out that this was brought forward in our process, which I think speaks very well of the process that we have in place that works, that our agenda came out Friday. We had an email from a citizen questioning this grant, and it made, I think, all of us go take another look at it. I know I visited the property on Saturday, and there's been time for discussions with the city manager and with each other, and I think that just is a shock to say our process does work. The process that we have of putting the agenda out, it's up to a citizen to come forward if they want something removed from the consent agenda. then this is their opportunity, and it works very well.
I see Mr. Mitchell raising his hand. Is he, are you the applicant?
And I have purchased that property since.
Would it be good for us to hear the applicant? Disclose our information.
Well, I make a motion that we allow Mr. Mitchell and any other person who likes to speak about a specific agenda item to come forward and speak about it before we take the vote. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Wright, second by Guess. Come from Mr. Mitchell. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That's four, Mr. Mitchell.
I'm sorry, I actually was outside, so I don't exactly know where we're at in this process. To tell you the truth, I just heard Mr. Frazier speaking about it, but I guess if you have questions for me, what?
Well, the discussion has been around whether this qualifies for beautification grant or vacant building grant.
Okay.
And I think that has been the issue, and Mr. Frazier has said this would not qualify for a vacant building grant, but in his opinion and the planning commission, it qualifies for an appearance grant.
Right, yeah.
Part of that is the return of the investment for the city versus the return of the investment for the property.
Correct. For it being tax value of $26,000 and you're putting in $11,000 and reimbursed for $5,000, the investment back to the city is going to be what, when the property has not been taken care of. I mean, that's...
Right.
Just elaborate on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going per the application. I mean, improve the appearance of the building facade, encourage investment in the commercial revitalization area, promote beautification of Hickory are the first, bullet points of that application. And, even if the tax value is low, I mean, the hope is to raise, improve the property and raise the tax value. So, I mean, I don't think the tax value, necessarily indicates the market value. And I think I've got a good track record, to the one I did previously. So that's just kind of my thoughts, but I'll answer any questions.
Do you have a plan for that particular piece of property?
Well, there's that property and there's two others adjoining it, but until, you really can't do much with the broken windows. I mean, it's hard to secure it. And until I get windows put in, it's hard to move forward, but it's a commercial application and, it's a pretty broad spectrum of what you can do, but until I get it into, a shape that somebody can occupy, it's kind of hard to say.
You say there's two other properties. Are you trying to assemble those properties to do something?
I own both of those as well.
So, just asking, would it be better to mow it down and assemble all three properties as fresh property?
I think the building has potential. I mean, it's on a, major thoroughfare through there, and it's, right on the road. I think gets a lot of exposure driving up and down that road.
So you don't have any immediate plans for business there or anything like that?
We have I have a sign out there, and there's a lot of interest in the building, but until it can become habitable, then, really can't do anything. But there has, a lot of interest has been expressed.
How much are you going to have to put, because I haven't seen the interior of the building, how much else is going to have to be put in the building to really get it up to code and everything else?
It really just depends on what type of use. I mean, if it's used for, some type of detail shop or storage, it just depends on, it's pretty much an open floor plan in the interior. So I guess it's wide open on what you want it to do, just depending on, who can and what use.
What's the square footage?
1,900, give or take.
I would move approval. Second.
Well, I'd like to just add a discussion for that. The motion has been made by Mr. Wade, seconded by Mr. Seaver. I drove by the property today and I saw a lot of potential for it. It sits very nicely in that curve, and I could see it being a great sales office for somebody. Someone who needs a lot of parking spaces, or they could add parking spaces with the other property. I saw the vacant lots. I didn't know who owned those. but I saw potential for the property, and now it is severely depressed. And it's the kind of property we'd like to see improved or demolished. And I kind of like seeing it improved. So that's how I said it. Any other discussion?
Well, we do have some reinvestment going on. The Hickory Tree and the Green Hills bought a smaller building up there, we veer off on 11th Street, which really didn't, I think, had a shared driveway and no parking, but it didn't stop them from reinvesting. So I think there's some positive reinvestment going on in that area.
And the fabric shop reinvested there and have done a great job.
And if Mr. Mitchell, if he does as good a job on that one as he did on the Zerden house, I just want to say, I know that the Zerden family is happy when they pass their house, that it went to someone who cared about the integrity of the house. You've done a really nice job.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Public hearing.
First public hearing this evening, I'll ask Mr. Fraser to come back to the podium, is for City Council to consider a rezoning after the public hearing of a property on 29th Avenue. Request is from medium density residential R2 to office and institutional. Mr. Fraser.
Mr. Barrett, thank you very much. Again, good evening. As Mr. Barrett indicated, he submitted a petition to request property be rezoned from R2 to O&I, which is office institutional. I won't read all the bullet points up there. That gives you a brief background of what we're looking at. Hickory by Choice 2030, our comprehensive plan classifies the property as high-density residential, hence the R2. The rezoning of properties to O&I is consistent with the high-density future land use classification. Hickory by Choice 2030 specifically states that these areas may also contain office uses along thoroughfares, of which 29th Avenue Northeast is one, and adjacent to commercial area to serve as a transition area between commercial and residential land uses, which I believe this would do. The property is currently occupied by single-family residents constructed back in the mid-50s. The applicant is looking at renovating the existing home into the professional office, which would house their building contractor's business. On September 26th, the Planning Commission did hold a public hearing and adopted the petition's consistency with Hickory by Choice 2030 and unanimously voted to forward the recommendation to the council, and staff concurs with the findings and recommendation of the Planning Commission. No one to this point in time has expressed any reservations about the action. We did get one call from a neighbor who was supportive of it. You can see the property right there outlined in red. That's currently the single-family home that needs quite a bit of work. This is 29th Avenue Northeast, 127 North in Fremont, the Bell Hollow Shopping Center. The new is Lowe's and the tavern, so you can get your bearings from that. This is the current zoning. You can see the R2 and the O&I directly contiguous across the street. Staff thought this was the best avenue to go with it. This is, again, the rezoning petition. This would show the property there in the crosshatch in dark red, and you can see the future land use. And again, as I already said, we believe, as did the Planning Commission, that this is consistent with Hickory by Choice 2030. And the Planning Commission did vote unanimously to approve this action, recommend approval for the rezoning petition to the City Council. And I'd be more than happy to address any questions or concerns that you may have.
That property right behind the shopping center, is that residential? Just to the left of it, swinging in? Yeah. It's residential.
Yes. In fact, this property here is also a single-family residence that's in need of some work directly behind the Hickory Tavern and the Bell Hollow Shopping Center here along 127 North. And the property owner that owns this, there's also a 40-foot strip a 10-foot strip, and this is also zoned as residential.
There are some structures on that big piece there.
Yeah, there's a couple sheds and outbuildings.
Nobody currently living right there on it.
I believe, I'm not sure if there is anyone living in here. There was, but it's been up for sale. I believe it may be vacant now.
When you may be coming back to us.
And the only input you got was approval?
Approval. One other person, one house further to the east is maybe interested. I mean, to the west, may be interested as well. The one that's right behind Hickory Tavern, they also may be interested in an O&I use. And we have had, in the past 3 or 4 months, several inquiries about that larger piece of property attached to it. I believe it's around 15, 17 acres.
Well, that whole strip's become sort of O&I, and it has not been detrimental, and some of the houses have really been improved for businesses, so.
Yes, sir. I believe that the property across the street, Raspberries, of course, that's been updated several years ago, and the property just
And that one
east
appeared
of that.
last year, didn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it seems like that's a natural area to move to O&I.
I believe so, sir, yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. For our public hearing, we, as is our custom, we allow 15 minutes to be shared among those who wish to speak against the proposal. There's 15 minutes to be shared amongst those for a proposal. Then we have 5 minutes of rebuttal and 5 minutes of survey vote. We start with people opposed, and I will declare the public hearing open and ask if there's anyone opposed to this proposal. Is there anyone who wants to speak in favor of this proposal? There being no one desiring to speak, I declare the public hearing closed and ask for a motion or discussion.
Second.
I think I've got a motion from Mr. Meisner and a second from Mr. Seaver. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. It's unanimous. Mr. Berry?
First department report, I'll ask the city's public services director, Mr. Chuck Hansen, to come to the podium. Mr. Hansen is going to present to council bids and recommend an order for the bid to Mid-State Contractor in the amount of $35,880 to pave a couple of city-owned lots that back up to the historic Regional Library, which was relocated several years ago and is owned by Interfaith. And kind of the next step in that process. Mr. Hansen.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Barrett. Mayor, members of council, this is requesting a award of contract to Mid-State Contractors in the amount of $35,880 for essentially construction of a parking lot that we're partnering, I should say, with Interfaith on. Just running through a quick 4 or 5 slides. We're actually on Center Street, South Center Street here, looking sort of southwest, and this is the back side of the library building. This property in the foreground here is essentially what the city owns, and that's what we're proposing to use for the parking lot. Moving on down South Center Street, looking again in the back of the building, so this is sort of the other side of that property. The bus shelter here will stay. Driveway will sort of come in beside it, and another one on down the street. So you'll create about 20 spaces in here. This is looking at the front of the building from essentially looking east from 1st Street Southwest. The parking lot is essentially directly behind it, if you will. Another shot from 1st Street, looking a little bit towards the south, southeast. You really can't see it in this slide, but right in here is where the bus shelter was. The cars over here on South Center Street. So again, this property behind is the parking area. Looking at it from a bird's eye view, South Center Street, north is up. This is 1st Street southeast. This is the building. This is the bus shelter I showed you, and so again, you can see the layout of the parking lot here. So this is essentially utilizing some of the city's property there along South Center Street for this project. And that's the quick version of the project there. We are funding this through CDBG monies, and contracting out will oversee some of the construction, and what you really didn't see in the site plan, there was some landscaping and stuff that's associated that go with the project that'll go in after the parking lot's done too. Any questions?
Will the sidewalk be on?
Yes.
And I have a question too. So folks that will be using the parking lot, will they be able to walk on a hard surface to the building? There'll be a sidewalk to the building to show on
the site plan. Good question. I was wondering who was going to ask. Sorry. Not knowing exactly what this is going to look like at this point in time, we're leaving that open. But yes, there will be some connectivity that'll have to happen as that building comes along. So again, this is the first phase of getting it ready, if you will, and then as this happens and the access, we'll have to have additional ADA parking that'll go in the parking lot associated with that too.
So the parking is really all in the
In this case, because when you look at the front, there's very little front yard space there. Correct.
That's the corner property on the left, right?
So I guess my
Either that's what she's asking about. That's not ours.
But it's corner property there.
Up here it is. The street, the connection street is this is the existing building. Let me try to get back up the sheet. The street is just to the right side of this existing building. That's where the barber shop is. So again, the connection street is right here. So what you see is the back building there. Get back to you can see sort of the back of the building that we're just looking at. Here's the shelter. So this is what you're asking is the corner lot. This goes over to the connection street there.
So I have another question. If you go back over to Center Street, the view from Center Street. Okay, what about the existing trees back over here?
These existing trees will stay.
Okay, what about
This one will have to go. The rest of them remain. This will remain. And what you find out is that there's actually, I'm making sure a little bit better on the site plan. What you'll see is there's grass area here quite a distance, and around the bus shelter in the corner, and then there's a grass area left in between the building and the parking lot, so it's not shoved right up to the property line, if you will. And then of course this is grass and landscaping area in the front. Here's this one tree I showed you right here. This circle will be the driveway location. These two existing trees stay, and there'll be some additional landscaping added in these areas. Another existing tree right here. That's at the bus station, bus stop.
So presently, what's the use of the building?
At this time, I think it's planning for what can be used for.
Okay, so we're going to start with parking.
In this case, this is the beginning of making.
Well, they're talking about a reproduction of a library and a museum.
Right. Well, I just wondered, most people start with the building instead of start with parking. And my concern is that city-owned property is well maintained. With grass, there are some trees on that property, and I guess my next question would be: is this going to be landscaped in the interior? Because sometimes parking lots can get messy and littered, and so right now you've got an expanse of grass that's well maintained with a bus stop on it.
And in this case, again, we're not doing anything with the property. It's still in our ownership. So as far as that goes, I see us maintaining this piece of the facility here.
So how much would be spent on landscaping?
The landscaping will be basically done from in-house
in-house labor installing that. In this case, I don't have that figure in front of me. That's something that will develop as this evolves. Again, it's not a large site, so there's not a ton of money can be spent on that.
I think they kind of
essentially, but there's a lot. We're trying to keep as much green space and grass as we can. Utilize the existing trees. We're taking one of the 4 out, and of course we'll put some back in where there's areas for that.
Does this price include, and I don't know correctly or not, is it curb and gutter, or does it include
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Okay, and so there'll be sufficient drainage and that type of
Which again, from a maintenance standpoint, allows a sweeper to go in and sweep and help from a cleanup standpoint that way too.
Is there a time frame on actually having a museum? 2 years, 3 years?
I'm gonna have to yield to Mr. Berry on that.
I'm not aware of one. Of the last conversations that we've had with Interfaith, as the mayor alluded to, I think they're starting to gravitate toward the usage, and we have tried to partner with them to find federal grant money, but not been successful at this point to find grant dollars to help with that, but that's kind of where we are in the process.
I think they want to kickstart their fundraising efforts. For example, they've also asked that I consider donating a sign, and I'm inclined to do so we can kickstart the fundraising and do something really nice there.
I've had several conversations with people in that area, and everybody that's in that area talks about how they can't wait until the parking lot gets done. I mean, it's been talked about for a while, I think. And I think it's an improvement, although they're not ready to build it yet. I think it certainly does enhance it, and it gives them some inspiration to go ahead and do something in the next step. So I move approval.
So, I have one question. I'm sorry, I didn't realize you. Are the site lighting? We need to accommodate.
There'll have to be some lighting.
There'll have to be some lighting. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Again,
that way.
there's some street lighting there, but they'll probably
That
be
part,
two
city
lights.
parking lots need to be lit. Okay, that's it.
Well, I just want to make something clear. I'm asking these questions just simply because I'm curious about the parking lot versus working at the building. But I want to state that I favor leaving the library on the original site when the city developed the Ridgeview campus. Because when you move old buildings, they lose part of their integrity. And I guess that's the reason I'm still interested in it. I just felt like, architecturally speaking and historically speaking, it lost some significance when we moved it from that site and it wasn't incorporated into the campus again. I just want to state that for the record.
Well, I do know that I've heard they're very excited about the historical meaning for graduates of that school.
And I understand that. But sometimes
they
when
plan.
you move buildings, to me, it would have been great if we had had the vision at that point to incorporate that building into that site plan when we developed that campus. That's merely for the record.
And that was how long ago?
A long time.
But I think that that would be a source of pride for them. And I've heard them speak about school reunions and family reunions and being able to go back through that library. And so anything we can do to help jumpstart the funding, I'd like to see us do, as long as it's part of a continuation that will result in something meaningful. And I believe it will. Any other comments?
I just wondered about the condition of the building. It looks like inside, it's pretty sound enough.
It'll sound when we move from that standpoint, yes. I mean, obviously, it's going to be some,
a lot of it.
If you go by there, you're going to see it probably needs a new front door. There's some work going to have to be done.
It's some time for some exterior trim work.
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't have to raise $200,000 or $300,000. Any other comments, questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. It's unanimous.
Next departmental report, I'll ask Mr. Frazier to come back to the podium and present another community appearance recommendation for a grant for non-residential property. Mr. Frazier.
Mr. Barry, thank you. There's no PowerPoint for this one, but the Community Appearance Commission is requesting City Council for their approval of an appearance grant for non-residential property owned by the Holler Hosiery landlords at 883 Highland Avenue Southeast in the amount of $10,000. As you've seen, there's been a heck of a lot of activity over there the past several months, very positive. The maximum grant award from the city, as I mentioned earlier in my presentation, is $5,000 for this grant through the CDC. But part of the program guidelines allow for, quote, enhanced financial participation, unquote, for projects which are of significant economic scale and possess exceptional architectural merit. Proposed renovations by the applicant include the following: cleaning and repointing of the exterior brickwork, new exterior doors and storefront, repair and repainting of the window frames, replacement and glazing of the window frames, replacement of exterior retaining walls, loading docks, exterior concrete, and the renovation of the dilapidated connector building that was there into a plaza area. Again, the applicants have requested $10,000 grant funding, which is twice the amount normally provided. But as I mentioned earlier, the requested funding is based upon the applicant's belief that the project is of significant economic scale and of exceptional architectural merit to justify the $10,000 grant. Current tax value of the property, including the land and the building, is $107,000, and the applicant intends to invest approximately $3.5 million in the redevelopment of the property. And upon review of the grant proposal, the CAC, the Community Appearance Commission, did find the project is of significant economic scale and exceptional architectural merit, and unanimously recommended to council that council provide grant funding in the amount of $10,000. In the CAC's motion approving this recommendation, it was also noted that council chose not to provide the full $10,000 as recommended by the CAC, that council would hopefully consider the funding the grant at the standard $5,000 amount. And I'd be glad to answer any questions.
What is CAC's total budget for the year?
That you stunned me. I'm not sure the exact total.
40,000 for the appearance grants and 15,000 for the
40 for appearance and 15 for landscape. Thank you, sir.
What do we say to other people when they come and ask for more than 5,000?
It has been done, I believe, on at least one other occasion. It's not done frequently, but we also haven't had a project, at least in the 7 years that I've been here, of this magnitude.
What was that other occasion?
I'm not sure.
I don't have to look.
It was a while back.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
That's
it would
okay.
be worth comparing, with the other occasion.
I can certainly attest it wasn't of this magnitude.
Okay.
I'd be inclined to move for approval for the full $10,000. I agree, it's a significant project, not just in terms of the investment dollars, but in terms of location, in terms of sort of moving the needle from a bad situation, meaning that vacant building, into a really good one. But there's a lot of mitigating factors, I think, that would speak to funding this in the amount of $10,000.
I would second that.
That is a motion.
Motion by Mr. Lell, second by Ms. Pat. Well, the reason I asked the question about the budget is obviously our Community Appearance Commission believes that this is a better use of 25% of that budget than some other project that might come along. I was just asking the question kind of in the context of precedents and those kind of things. But But I'm not opposed to it. I want to help this project move along, and I'm looking forward to the ribbon cutting.
And I believe that there have been years that they haven't used all that money, right, Warren?
Is
So
that going to be
it
December?
comes and goes.
No, it's
according
beginning of fiscal year.
to a plan.
Yeah, and it's a first come, first served basis, so there's really no way for them to know, in theory, what project would miss out in April or May or something like that, if all the money has been planned.
But if they prioritize it like that, I can deal with it. Anybody else? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That's unanimous.
We might as well continue making this the Brian Fraser show. Mr. Fraser come back and tell you, and present to council the agreement between the city and US EPA for the next installment of our brownfield grant process.
Again, Mr. Barry, thank you. Thanks for your patience. You stuck with me tonight instead of Cal on a couple of these, but it'll have to suffice. I'll be back at it later. Again, what we're asking is that staff requesting that council approve the cooperative agreement with the U.S. EPA, Region 4 Atlanta, and accept the two $200,000 community-wide brownfield assessment grants. These would be these are the fourth grants that the city has received in the past 5 years, and staff and I are really proud of that. These grants, again, will be used to assess environmental contamination and identify brownfield sites, either known or suspect, throughout the city of Hickory, although we are concentrating on those redevelopment areas that we talked about in Hickory, by choice, and the city's land development code. In May of last year, the city received notice from EPA that we had received these grants to both assess petroleum and hazardous materials, and again, the total amount is $400,000. I'd like to stress that once again, the federal government has been kind, and there is no required local match of any kind, which is highly unusual in this competitive grant market. And again, the funds from the EPA will be used to conduct phase 1 and 2 environmental site assessments, along with cleanup and redevelopment plan, which we want to spend a greater emphasis on this year. Sites will be selected from input from staff, citizens, local developers, realtors, and the city's Brownfield Advisory Committee, the BAG, which we will reinstitute shortly. And this grant will last from October 1st of 2012 through September 30th of 2015. Just a snapshot. Again, we were awarded $400,000 in the 07-10 round. We conducted 9 phase 1 environmental site assessments, 6 phase 2 ESAs, and 3 redevelopment plans. Of those 6 phase 2s that we conducted, we're batting 500. 3 are successful projects. The old Hutto store on 127 North, the northern end of the Viewmont neighborhood, was revitalized into a Verizon cell phone store. They're getting ready to expand their parking lot and landscaping. Piedmont Wagon has been purchased and is currently being renovated by a local physician, I believe, from Maine right now for Man Cave, but he's looking for better ideas down the road. He's already met with staff and myself. And of course, what we just talked about, Holler Hosiery, a multi-million-dollar project. So we're batting 500, and I'm happy about that. Staff and the consultants and EPA and Diener at the state level have worked really well together in those redevelopment plans. And again, as I just mentioned, we've been awarded another $400,000 for these 3 years. Here's some things that we've done just to show you. This is Holler Hosiery development. That was then, and this is now, and they're making progress on a daily basis, as we can all well see when we drive by. They're definitely going to be a fantastic addition to the community. Now, this is a sampling of the phase 1 and 2 sites that we did in the last grant round. Lyerly Mill, Moretz Mill, which now has been really cleaned up, property inside and out. I think we have a more willing property owner to go into the phase 2 and redevelopment phase. Piedmont Wagon, again, phase 1, phase 2 redevelopment planning was done there. That's been sold. S&W Chemical, we almost had a deal. Unfortunately, that fell through, but that was a phase 1 and 2. That does need some level of remediation. That's still going to be one of our priority sites. Other phase 1 and 2, Regal Manufacturing in Viewmont near Hickory High School. And then here's the Hutto store, which had been vacant for, I think, over 30 years, if I'm not mistaken. That was then, This is now getting ready to expand that back parking lot, close off the entrance on 127. Everything will be routed around the building. There will be additional landscaping in front and in back. And again, staff recommends that the council accept both brownfield grants from the US EPA in the amount of $400,000 and sign the cooperative agreement so we can get the money flowing within the next couple of weeks. And again, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Are you going to you said you're going to resurrect the bag, is it going to be in the same setup that you did previously?
I think we might have a few. Well, we may have some of the same members. I think some of the members will be different. We will have a kickoff meeting with the consultants. We had set up a committee with the manager's office, 2 department heads, 2 staff members, and Mrs. Surratt, assistant city manager. And we did receive 9 requests for qualification statements, proposals from those consultants. We narrowed the search down to 4. We have recommended 1 for selection, and we're negotiating with them right now, scope of services agreement and a contract. So there will be a major kickoff meeting both for the bag and for the public. And we're looking at having meetings more at the quarterly level at the bag. We were running out of sandwich money last time, so.
Well, I have to commend your department for securing these grants. This has been wonderful. I think a lot of people understand the groundwork that has to be done. It's way over here, you do this work, but then the holler hosiery, it's many years later, but that's the groundwork's done. And I commend your department for taking care of it.
Thank you very much, and I want to thank council too, because it was a real public-private partnership effort between the vacant building grant, the appearance grant, $60,000 of brownfield money, and all the money that the applicants and the property owners have put into that. And EPA absolutely loves that. We were asked to speak at the EPA Southeast Regional Workshop in 9 different states a few weeks ago. Mr. Leonetti and I attended, and we've been asked to speak again at the 2013 National Brownfield Conference about Hickory. So I'd like to get that word out. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I want to chime in and compliment Mr. Frazier and his staff. It is an extremely competitive process to get these dollars, and the fact that his leadership has led to 2 grants now in the last 2 cycles has been spectacular. And the athlete pointed out the impact it's had around the city.
Motion by Mrs. Patton, second by Mrs. Fox. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. It's unanimous. Well, I'd like to say we've gotten a lot of grants. We've gotten them for these projects. We've gotten them for triple fleet sewer line, right? Maybe these aren't sexy projects, because we're doing some good stuff with them.
Well, I think one of the positives is we get these grants, but we have a vision, and we're awarding grants to fulfill the vision that we have for particularly these revitalization centers.
Well, I think as the mayor alluded to, sometimes we can read about certain projects other communities are doing in the paper, and all of their grant funds and different things are getting funneled into one project. As you all have pointed out, the city's been successful on a number of fronts of getting grants, of getting no-interest loans to do infrastructure projects, etc. And it's a pretty substantial amount. It just tends to be all over the city on different projects, and especially for the brownfield, it's excellent that is stimulating private investment. And that's the best way to do these, so that it's not, the city trying to figure out what to do with that building, but it's the city helping get a clean bill of health, so the private sector can come in and say, hey, there's a market-driven use here. That's the very best way to do it. We may not always be able to do it that way, but that's the best way to do it, in my opinion. For your next department report, why don't we shift gears a little bit, and we'll go to engineering and bring up Mr. Kevin Greer, the assistant. Sorry.
We haven't voted. Oh, okay, somebody, motion by, I remember that, Mrs. Patton, second by Mrs. Fox. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no.
I'm sorry. All right, Mr. Greer, I get excited talking about wastewater.
Mayor Wright, members of council, Mr. Barry, Mr. Crone, good evening, and thank you for letting me speak tonight on our Hickory Catawba wastewater treatment plant upgrade. You're right, I do get pretty excited about wastewater, and we do think Cripple Creek's not a silly project. The purpose of the departmental report tonight is simply to get council to accept the bids from a recent project that we did, which of course is our Hickory Catawba plant. We purchased the existing facility from the town of Catawba in 2003.
Railroad's excited about it.
I get the train's excited about it. The existing facility is a 225,000 gallon a day facility. It's just a traditional conventional activated sludge plant, so there's not anything sexy about that plant. And the last known upgrade to the facility was 1956. It was existing then. We have no records of it, but there was an upgrade that was made in 1956. The existing facility, as you can see it, there's about a little over 7.5 acres that we own on this entire site. The plant itself sits on about 4.3 acres right now. The existing facility is this little small square here. Again, 225,000 gallons a day is, of course, not a very big facility, but it has served the area pretty well for 50 years. The purpose behind the project, of course, is to replace an aging facility. It is 60 years old, and it does take some time for us to actually make those parts to keep it running. To provide a long-term regional answer to wastewater for that basin, so we are trying to look long-term, and again, I applaud council. We always do look at long-term solutions, not just a short-term fix, which is what we're committing to here, and of course to promote and allow for economic development in our service area. Hickory City Council and Catawba County signed an agreement in 2006 really dealing with this facility. And there was 3 key points to that. The first one is it keeps wastewater in Catawba County, so it gets it going back to our Hickory Catawba plant. The second key thing was dollars that were spent in Catawba County for infrastructure, not going to either neighboring towns or neighboring communities, counties, those kinds of things. So it kept the money in Catawba County being spent for infrastructure. And then the third was, of course, that Hickory and Catawba County would split those costs proportionally for construction. Now, the original size or the initial size that we settled on was a 1.5 million gallon a day facility, so we're going from 225,000 to 1.5 million. And Catawba County has, in the contract, agreed to the right to purchase of 750,000 gallons a day. So in their payment, it would be for the right to purchase treatment services for half of that plant, which would be 750,000 gallons a day. Construction of this project is 18 to 24 month project, so it's not quick, which is why we're trying to get out ahead of the development curve. And of course, at the end of the project, as it is now, the city of Hickory would physically own the facility. So Catawba County is purchasing the right for treatment services, but Hickory would maintain ownership of the facility. This is the proposed facility. If you look, you can see right here, this was the original plant that I showed before. What we're looking at now is the baby brother version of the Northeast plant. So the Northeast plant is a 6 million gallon a day plant. This is a 1.5 million. It's the same oxidation ditch technology with clarifiers and sludge handling. If any of you have been at the facility, you remember the boat docks at the very end. There's been a lot of interest in keeping that open, so at the end of the project, there's improvements that will be made through the project. And our intent is to keep that boat landing open. It is from what I understand, the only public access shy of the landing that's in Mooresville. So it's on the upper end of Lake Norman. Where the facility lies right now is on Lyle Creek, and it's about 1/2 mile up Lyle Creek from Lake Norman. So actually, if you look at Duke's permit, all the way to the bridge is considered Lake Norman. So we would be in Lake Norman, but we're definitely on Lyle Creek. The Hickory Catawba plant, again, we started this in 2005. And it's finally got to the point that we bid the project. September of this year, we bid the project. Jimmy Lynch out of Pilot Mountain, Jimmy Lynch and Sons, out of Pilot Mountain, was the low bidder on the project at $10,219,657. So $10.22 million in essence. In the agreement again with Catawba County, they agreed with the right to purchase 750,000 gallons a day, and they would share those costs proportionally. So they will pay half of that, we would pay half of that. Completion, if you work off the same 18 to 24 months, we're looking at,
I'm going to say mid to late 2014 or early 2015. So again, we're trying to get ahead of any kind of development curve. And the monies that the city of Hickory has planned to use would be from our water and sewer capital reserve fund. So it's money that we collect and we put in the capital reserve for infrastructure type projects, with this, of course, fits right in line with that. The next steps after this evening would be, of course, that City Council would approve an agreement with Catawba County for purchase of treatment services, which we have in hand as a draft with Catawba County staff now. City Council will then award the contract for construction, which again we're recommending Jimmy Lynch just to accept his bids now. City Council will then award a contract for construction admin services. That worked really well in the Northeast plant, so we're using that same approach again. And when we bid the project, we actually put in there for them to hold the bids for 120 days, which is longer than normal, but it did seem to affect the bids really. And that puts us out to January 18th, 2013. So we've got a little bit of time, but not a lot. Everything kind of falls in place with the holidays and with council meetings.
And what I want to do is just take a minute and explain what's exciting to me about this. So this map, to kind of orient you, red one on the front is the button.
Very top.
No? Okay. Here is the town of Catawba, which, as Mr. Greer stated, sits technically in Lake Norman. I would call it the end of the Catawba River. This black line really outlines the service area in terms of the topography that would be served by this plant. You can see it's huge. Here's our jurisdiction, the city of Hickory, Conover, Claremont. So when you think about the scope of that plant, it's really positioned because of its drainage, and I think that was part of the strategic reason that the city purchased the plant from the town of Catawba years ago, recognizing that it had the potential to be a very large regional provider of wastewater, and also recognizing that with the regulatory environment being what it is, permits have a great value. It's very difficult to get a wastewater treatment plant permitted. Zooming in just a little bit, let's look at the economic development impact that this plant will have. Very faint line running right through here is Interstate 40. And what we've done is, in conjunction with Mr. Millar at the Economic Development Corporation, we've kind of drawn your attention to some very large tracts of land which can be served by this wastewater treatment plant that have some very favorable aspects for large economic development opportunities. You've got major transportation corridors. As the sewer plant's built, you've got fairly straightforward access to sewer lines. That's those dotted lines in there to serve those. So what you can envision is that this plant puts the city of Hickory in a great position as we have conversations with the county and potentially other jurisdictions like Claremont to partner with them in those economic development opportunities. So think about the multi-jurisdictional business park that you're participating in now with Conover. You would actually already have a foot in that game because of the utility system, and may very well be able to leverage your utility system for participation in future business parks in those key areas. So that's, I think, very exciting for us moving forward, and a strategic reason to partner with Catawba County in the expansion of this plant. So either Mr. Greer or I would be glad to elaborate further or answer any questions. The action that we're seeking this evening, as Mr. Greer mentioned, is to accept the lowest responsible bid of $10,219,657 from Jimmy R. Lynch and Sons.
Just got curious, just spinning my wheels here. What kind of services agreement do we have for like police and fire for something that's all right?
We don't have any. No.
Sheriff? Okay.
Yeah, sheriff or the neighboring town, but in terms of impact on the rest of city services, none. It's purely from the utility standpoint.
Fire would have to be served by a volunteer.
Yeah, or by the town of Catawba, which the town of Catawba is one paid person and volunteers. So, yeah.
The company that's currently working on the
northeast sewer plant. Did they bid on this?
They did not, and Mr. Beer can elaborate more, but the simple answer is that they do big projects. Yeah, it's, you know, I mean, it's strategic, but it's not a huge project. 1.5 million gallons is not a big project, and they tend to be mobilized where they can move to big sites where they're going to be there for a couple of years like they did on the Northeast plant. You want to add anything to that, Mr. Beer?
Yeah, I mean, they told us $20 million really is their basement. Anything 20 million up is what they look at. I mean, they really do work on.
That's a good problem to have.
Projects. That's right.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Now, who will be the potential bidders for the administration?
We actually have sent out a request for qualifications. We've interviewed those qualified applicants. There were 4 that submitted, and we have selected one and are starting to really talk with that one to formulate a contract and see
But
what kind of things we do.
McGill wouldn't do that and not do the construction? They wouldn't just do the administration?
You mean in terms of having designed the plant? Because the design for the plant's already done.
Yeah, we're talking about administration.
Yeah, you're talking about administration of the construction.
But it's somebody independent of the contractor who's helping us, because we're running daily.
Right.
We don't have excess people to.
Right, that's right. That's exactly, and actually McGill is who we contracted with to do the Northeast plant. And they do exactly what you're alluding to, Mr. Mayor. They go line by line and do all the inspections with the contractor to make sure that the city is actually getting what we contracted to get. And as Mr. Greer mentioned, we've met with 4 different firms to do that work, and are kind of honing in on one and having some conversation about a contract that would eventually come to city council for approval to do construction administration on the project.
We don't want to know until
You know, a lot of groups have their own in-house construction managers. We'd have enough going on there.
You mean some municipalities?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I think Burke County.
Okay. I make a motion we approve this.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Motion by Wright, second by Lael. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. It's unanimous, and this is a fairly historic development for us. Any appointments? I need some help for an at-large minority for Parks and Rec. I don't know why I'm not getting a volunteer to step forward. Petitions, requests, matters not on the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I would ask council to consider a matter not on the agenda. Sent out an email to y'all earlier, giving you a heads up for that. I'd like to, if you choose to let it come to.
I move we consider the city manager matter, which is not on there.
Second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion carried.
The city received a request for a special event on Union Square. And initially, as staff reviewed this event, we kicked it back to the applicant because they were a business applying to do a fundraising effort, but the guidelines stipulate that it has to be a nonprofit. The applicant is actually CrossFit of Hickory, 51 14th Street Avenue Northeast. The name of the event is Barbells for Boobs, and that is apparently a nationwide fundraising event that's going all over the country. There's a website where people make donations, and the whole gist of it is that they have a charity event where high quality competitive CrossFit athletes come. They would set up on the flag court and do those CrossFit exercises, weightlifting. I'm not sure what all they do. I've seen a little bit on ESPN. It's like something I don't want to do. But,
These are CrossFit things. It's fairly phenomenal on what they.
Yeah. And apparently they get donations, you know, for the numbers of lifts or runs or whatever they do, and they raise money for the event. After we kicked it back to the applicant, we continued to do some more research. That's why it's not on your regular consent agenda like it otherwise would have. In our own in-house research, we recognize that we do have a precedent in that a couple of years ago, Josh, as a private restaurant entity, did a fundraiser via a community movie. So we felt like this was in that same vein. The only caveat is I don't know as of 5 o'clock if we had received the certificate. We have, okay. The other piece was making sure that they had insurance, their insurance policy would cover anything. You can imagine a ruptured disc or something with all the stuff they do, and we don't want to be responsible for that. So that's kind of the quick version of this item, and I'd be glad to discuss additionally or answer other questions. But at this point, staff does recommend the special event application be approved. It is for this Saturday.
It says here the fundraising for breast cancer research.
I would agree.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Patton, second by Mr. Seaver.
Wait 1 second, Mr. Mayor. I want to see the hours and the. So it's only 1 hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
And they've got set up and takedown. No alcohol involved. It's pretty straightforward, and they'll set it up, do their event.
Bring your tires that they have to.
Bring the tires and weights and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Put on their body drinks or whatever.
Lee, you said that excited about it.
I'm sorry, I'll be having a tidal wastewater treatment.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion's carried. General comments?
I have one. I hope everyone will come down this Saturday evening for Ulysses on the sales and concert for the public, and I hope it will be a wonderful event.
And you have agreed, I think, you're going to give him the proclamation and the key to the city to show how much we appreciate how wonderfully he represented our area.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to mention the North Carolina League of Municipalities meeting in Charlotte. It's not too late to go. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
I've got one, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to recognize William Hardis. William, you want to stand up for a second, cut him off right there. He's a senior poli-sci, political science major at Lenore-Rhine, and he has chosen to fulfill his requirement for an internship 3 hours a week with the city of Hickory. So it's been a pleasure to have him around the office the last few weeks. And I think through the end of the semester, right?
Yes, sir.
Great.
I'm enjoying it a lot too. I just want to add that in there.
Excellent. Thank you.
I'd just like to mention that once again, we had a tremendously successful, it appears, Oktoberfest. And sincere thank you to everyone that put effort into that. I know it was a tremendous amount of undertaking, a lot of people and everything, but everything I've heard is positive, and I was there for a little while. It seemed like everybody had a really good time.
And the weather cooperated.
The weather was good, yeah.
Wonderful.
Well, I heard we had great crowds on Saturday. I didn't know about the rest. And the golf tournament went off without any hitches, and we appreciate the Hickory people, police officers, and many others who volunteered and helped out on that. That provides a lot of exposure for our city, the greater Hickory Classic and Rockwater. And we're hoping
Busy weekend for Hickory, the greater Hickory metro area.
LRU homecoming, and don't forget the Molasses Fest Special at Sims Country Barbecue. A lot of things going on. We have persons requesting to be heard. First, we have a Jesse MacArthur who is asked to be introduced as a member of Citizens for Equity in Government to speak regarding televising council meetings.
I'd like to say good evening to the mayor and to the councilman. I bring you greetings from the Citizens for Equity and Government Committee. My name is Jesse MacArthur. I live in the 1700 block of 8th Street Drive, Northeast Hickory. I speak on behalf of the Citizens for Equity and Government Committee. We are requesting that the City Council record and broadcast its meetings on Charter Cable TV and the internet. This will enhance the City Council's goal for transparency and accountability by city government to its citizens. For those citizens who are unable to attend council meetings, they will be able to keep up with the work of City Council and to also see their ward representatives at work. Many cities and towns are broadcasting their meetings. Greensboro, Wilson, Boone, Morganton, and Mooresville, to name a few. We ask that this request be given your utmost attention. Thank you.
And Mr. Larry Post is asked to speak.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Mr. Berry, Attorney Crone. Thank you for allowing me to speak. The reason for asking to be heard tonight is that on this past Sunday, a week ago, I was going from my residence on 4th Street Place Southwest near the police department to Ridgeview Plaza. Because of the bike race that was being conducted in the downtown area and about the city, there were a lot of intersections patrolled by the Hickory police because of the bike riders and because of traffic having to be detoured or stopped to allow those bikers to be able to move freely about the city. On that day, I got off the beaten path trying to get to Ridgeview Plaza, trying to avoid the blocked streets and the bikers. I stopped to ask a person, where was I? And that citizen could not tell me. So, taking a chance, I moved to my left into the roadway, started flagging my cane to let drivers passing by know that I was carrying a white cane and that I was visually impaired. None of the drivers wanted to stop, wanted to ask me if they could assist me. So I refused to move out of the roadway until I could get the attention of a driver to ask them, where was I? All of a sudden, I heard a voice that I recognized. Excuse me. And that person that I recognized was Council Member Fox. She said to me, Larry, you're in the middle of the roadway. Move to your right and let me pull over, and I will assist you. She got out of her vehicle, came to me, and said to me, Larry, we have been at odds, but I forgive you as a citizen of this city for some of the things that you have done or said. She said, come climb in, and I will take you to where you're going. To me, that was a person that put behind them the differences that we may have experienced, but was willing to assist me any way that she could. And I want to say publicly, thank you, Councilmember Fox. You are an example of what we all should be about and like when dealing with each other, no matter whether we are on different sides same side or may have disagreements, we should continue to move forward. So I want to thank you publicly and say, keep the good work up. I thank you.
That's a wonderful story, Mrs. Fox. Thank you, Mr. Pope. Any other matters? Mr. MacArthur's question about televising. Should we consider appointing a group of council members to work with staff and come back to us with costs and any issues, any things that we've learned about from other cities? It seems like we probably ought to know more about it.
I hear you, but first, let's move to consider the matter since it's not on the agenda. I move.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you make a
Motion to consider the matter.
all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
Did we not, we've got some figures, what, 4 or 5, some years back, I thought.
Yeah, it's been a number of years ago.
Yeah.
We can certainly pull that file back out and look at it. I don't know off the top of my head what all the issues would be. I mean, it's like anything. It depends on the quality. It can be as easy as a handheld. I don't know how you actually would broadcast it live. That would take a little bit of work to figure out how do you actually connect the recording device to charter. It could be done live if that's what y'all chose to do. Certainly can look into
Or
it.
you do it on delay, have it taped and put it on
And I know that our franchise agreement, there's no longer our franchise agreement with Charter, that got moved to the state. But I'm presuming there is still some local authority to program on that government channel.
There is.
Yeah, so that, yeah.
That wouldn't be an issue. I mean, you can get time slots. I don't, again, the deals and the details about the timing of your meetings and when broadcasting the channel and all that kind of stuff. Clearly, other communities.
I think it should be studied, and particularly, in the internet. I think it's a pretty. I would assume it would be relatively inexpensive.
Well, I don't have any idea.
The more and more cities are televising, especially when you got citizens that cannot get out, come to the meeting, still interested in what's going on. And, they get to see firsthand what is going on.
I move that we direct staff to bring us some details and bear through what the statistics are. We'll continue to hear.
Just what we can pay Hickory the most to do it.
Reality show. Motion by Mr. Lane, second by Ms. Patton. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Leo, second by Mr. Seaver. All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you all for being here.
Hey, thanks for the help. I appreciate it. That was great. Sorry, thank you.